Record. Okay, so this week's webinar is your purpose in alignment with your beliefs. So the last few weeks I have done a webinar on what's your purpose, and last week we did one on what are your beliefs. So now we're just sort of bringing those two together, and just to see whether you're aware of whether or not your beliefs and your purpose are actually in alignment with each other. So the things we're going to discuss is we're going to touch on purpose and beliefs and their meanings to us. Just a little bit of revision on the last couple of weeks' webinars. We're also going to touch on what it means to have them in alignment. And then we're going to touch on how we start alignment, how we start to align ourselves with our purpose and beliefs. Okay, so purpose is where we find meaning of what we want to do and contribute to ourselves and to the greater world. So what does purpose mean to you is the real question. Purpose is a forward thinking, it all encompassing, and provides you with guidance. It gives you something to aim for in your life. Meanings are at the core of our experiences and also at the core of whatever we do. So it is really about understanding the meanings and what makes sense to us in our existence. So in life, we find meaning through a sense of purpose, which makes our life feel worthwhile. So beliefs arise through experience, and that experience provides, comes from previous beliefs. And these beliefs and reasons for these experiences get assimilated with each other. And this is how the experiences are actually formed. And this is how our beliefs are formed. So a belief is an attitude or conviction about the truth or some idea or concept that we have. And generally our beliefs are basic concepts, things around us that are consistent, things that we don't tend to question at all in our lives. So we tend to apply them to our memories, our experiences, and to the future that help understand the world around us. So for the most part, we're not really aware of what our beliefs are. They just sort of, they're automated. They just happen. And they're things that we never seem to just actively contemplate. We do actively contemplate some of them, depending on what the beliefs may be and what's happening in our lives at the time. But generally, they're from the subconscious mind, and they're not something that we are consciously aware of. So here is a quote from Michael J. Fox. "I believe purpose is something for which one is responsible. It is not just divinely assigned." And if you go back to their previous webinar in regards to that, our purpose isn't something that we're potentially aware of. Some people are, don't get me wrong, some people are, but sometimes we need to dig deep and find our purpose. And if you do go back to that webinar, you will also see on this, in the group, I would have posted some links on different websites you can go to in regards to just a little questionnaire around your purpose and how that might help you. So you can go back and have a look at that. And if you've got problems finding it, please send me a message and I will send you the link privately. Okay, get my head out of the way in there. So what it means to have your purpose and your beliefs in alignment. So when our passions and beliefs, values, their beliefs and values are cognitive, are closely aligned with our aspirations, which are things that motivate us, then your purpose is one of the most coherent things in your life. It provides you with absolute meaning in your life. So when this happens, then purpose becomes the central sense of who you are. It's something that you strive for. It becomes your constant and quite a predominant part of your personality. It begins to self-organise itself in specific ways. It helps you provide a framework for your everyday behavioural patterns and gives you something to aim for in life. So it's a sense that it's something, you get this sense of it, I must do this, I must pursue this, and I must live this out. So once we have an understanding of how we actually fit into the world, then our purpose becomes intrinsically motivating. It just happens, and we're motivated to do it. So if you prioritize some of the most important goals that you have in your life, and these goals align with your actions toward your dreams, this will help you remain focused and in the behavioral patterns of taking action towards those dreams. So brought together, beliefs and purpose help you form a mental representation of the world around you. Beliefs are important because our behavior is important, and your behavior depends on your beliefs. Everything you do can be traced back to your beliefs and how you hold yourself in the world and how you think about others and other situations about the world. So having an understanding of that, you can change your beliefs and you can be more in alignment with who you are and your heartfelt purpose, what you're actually searching for and who you want to be. And this can all be done, and it's based on the brain's neuroplasticity and the brain's ability to be forever changing. So when you believe in your purpose, you can work through obstacles, overcome disappointments, and endure hardships. Billy Cox. So now we're on to how we start aligning ourselves. So having the understanding that our brain is not hardwired is a major thing for people to understand. So because we're not actually hardwired, the brain, as I mentioned before, is forever changing. It can be modified through each and every experience that you have. And this is how we can bring about the alignment. So we need to learn the art of thinking, feeling, and really how to behave in order to rewire the brain. So how do we get our brain to learn and adapt? It's all about creating new connections, new pathways in our brains and changing the circuit. So if we think about the old connections and the old pathways, ultimately, they're just habits that we've created over time. Some of these habits are quite ingrained and quite deep, but ultimately they are just habits. And by creating new connections and new pathways, we can weaken those old pathways, those old habits, so that the new ones are the ones that become more automated by the reaction of your brain to them. The more you do the new habit, the stronger the connections and pathways get. The more automated the process becomes for you, and thus the new habit is formed. Okay, so the more you do the new habit, the stronger the connection. So if we can relate this information to our behavior around our purpose, what we're looking at is the more you do something, the stronger the behavior. So your behavior depends on your beliefs. So the stronger your behavior gets, the more you actually do it. So if your purpose is in alignment with your beliefs, then you're in constant action towards what you want. This constant action then is created by repetition. It's created by consistency. It's created by you being persistent, and it's created by something called direct action. This is something that is pure focused action, and it's all these things are required to help form a new habit, which is a new connection and new pathway, because it's the consistency, it's the persistence, and it's the repetition of creating that new connection. So in summary, living your purpose is about being in alignment with your best and most authentic self every day. Stacey Martino. So meanings are at the core of our experience. They also, they're about what we do. So it's through meanings that we make sense of our existence. Okay, so a belief is an attitude, it's a conviction about something that we hold truth to, an idea or concept. They're usually quite basic concepts, and they're things that are consistent in our lives. They're things that we don't usually question. So when our passions and beliefs are more closely aligned with our aspirations, then we find that our purpose is the most coherent one, and we're in complete alignment, and it provides us with the meaning of our lives. So having an understanding that your beliefs, when your beliefs are more in alignment with you, you have this heartfelt purpose to do exactly what you want to do when you want to do it. And this is based on the brain being able to change with every experience you personally have. So it may take some time, and you may go through some discomfort, and depending on the length of time that you've had this particular belief or this particular habit, it can be really ingrained in you, yet it still can happen. And I use the word yet. It's a very important word. Yet is an understanding of you don't have it, but you don't have it yet. That doesn't mean you can't have it. It just means that you don't have it yet. So you can change and you can bring about the alignment, because the brain is not a hardwired item. It can be modified through every experience, and it's forever changing. And it's a way of creating new connections, new pathways, changing the circuit from old connections to new connections, so that new ones become more automated and regular. And this happens through repetition, it happens through consistency, it happens through you being persistent and really having a direct, focused attention on what it is that you want. And that's one of the most important things that people must understand. You must know what you want so that you can drive your full focused attention to that. And ultimately, this is how we rewire our brains, and we change this to new neurological pathways. And once we do that, the old saying is of if you don't use it, you lose it. It's the case of the old pathway will die off. The old pattern, the old habit, it will die off if you don't use it. So the old saying, if you don't use it, you lose it, rings true in this case. So the more you do something, the stronger the behavior gets, as your behavior depends on your beliefs, okay? So if your purpose is in alignment with your beliefs, then you're in constant action towards exactly what you want. This consistent action is created, again, as I've said before, through repetition, consistency, persistence, and the direct action required for the habit to form its new connections and new pathways. So if anyone's got any more questions on how, if they've got habits or just something that they might want to tweak or change in their lives, just send me a private message and we can go through this on a little bit more of a deeper level. Okay. So that is the end of today's webinar. Thank you for joining me, all those who watched this in the group and those who registered but were unable to make it today. You will receive a copy of Is Your Purpose in Alignment with Your Beliefs in your inbox. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. I also have a Empowering Ordinary Women's podcast now that I'm also uploading these to. And I will also be doing some lives there with some other life coaches. Some of them are perimenopausal. Some of those are to do with how art and meditation can work. So actual visual art and meditation. There's also a hypnotic dietitian. She is amazing. So there's just a few interviews that are coming up, which I'm really looking forward to presenting for you guys. So next week is the 1st of April. Time is absolutely flying. So next week is the 1st of April, and next week's webinar is on what is mindfulness and why is it important in our lives. So the webinars are live at 9 a.m. Follow the link and come and register to get your copy. Thank you all again for joining me for this webinar today. Jodie Siemens from Taking Perspective.